I seek refuge billahi in Allah Jalla Jalaluhu mina from Ash-Shaytan, the Shaytan Ar-Rajim. He is the cursed one, meaning Shaytan. Bismillahi, in the name of Allah. Ar-Rahman, He is all merciful. Ar-Rahimi, He is all caring. I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everlastingly. Thanks to Him and glory and praises be to Him and Him alone, beyond any one or anything. I'm going to attempt to continue through the career of the Quranic teacher and activist. And we still are back in the 80s. We are trying to clarify whatever needs to be clarified from the 70s at this time. If the need does arouse, we will or arise, I should say, we will go back and look into the earlier 80s and the latter 70s. There has been one or two incidents where that has had to take place. Otherwise, we wanted to update the medical thus far. There was also an incident. It was a hand-to-hand combat between in the garden. So this is back at ESAS. Malika Mona Muhammad, rahmatullahi alayha, was there. AKF also was there. Myself, Rashida Lubnani, all of those who were our peers, most of them was there. Tafafal, Dudugai, Sheikhuna. I believe Isa was around at that time too. I think he was still young. Mind you that Isa is 4 years younger than yours truly. Now, this actually has to be updated because of the scar which left on the left knee. Because as mentioned before, all these combats, there were certain there's always some type of civil rivalry in a family. I don't know of any family that does not have such. But in this case, definitely, as we mentioned, grabbing the opponent and taking them to the ground on the sand was, very, very strategic. Unfortunately for yours truly, I landed on one of the um, plant protectors, and they were dug in the sand. Sometimes the plant had died, and you couldn't really tell that it still had that particular protector around, made up of some fine art of rock. So it's literally well enough to cut. And so when I brought him down, it cut through my knee. And I believe it required 9 or 11 stitches. Maybe it was 6. Younger, you think it's a lot more. Also, we wanted to iterate that Malika Mawna Muhammad radiallahu anha did meet with the Khalifa at that time, Sitting Abdul Ahad Mbake, and we want to make very clear that these type of meetings would gradually get us into Luga. Luga was not as if a marriage had taken place and we had gotten Luga. Luga was quite the opposite, and we're going to get to Luga, at least the edge of it, best we can today, inshallah, by Allah's means. Now, we're going to say once more also that these mango trees were very tall. Where the classrooms were mainly, or namely the Quran classroom and the French tutoring of Muslim Jai. We're going to elaborate further that these were also used as some type of readiness and height exploring adventurous type. The garden was used as if we were, and this is something we had to make clear to Malika Mawna Muhammad at one point. We had to say to her, yes, we know we're not doing all Quran, but we are getting adventurous here. We are learning other languages, and we have we have some other culture. This is what you wanted, So mainly the elders spoke up. I was the youngest of the three, but not the youngest of the four boys, or the five boys on that note that Malika Maunu Muhammad rahmatullahi alayha had. And we also reminded her that, we had gone to the movies. We had seen Lion of the Desert. We had seen Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back. She had brought us, mainly and namely, Rashid al-Lubnani, rahimahullah, she liked to have these books. He liked to read a lot, and she had gotten him the books of Alexander Dumas, The Three Musketeers, and that was one series. But she would also, and the other series that she had, I remember, was the Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer and Oliver Twist, that whole deal there. And interestingly, she listened, and then a series again. It was not all so satisfied. Yours truly has to say that he was practically also in the camp because of the bullying. Politically speaking, Rashid al-Lubnani was getting the best of it. It seemed as if he was again a hidden French. He was, I believe, I want to say 2 grades ahead of yours truly. Very smart. And he was, again, the special envoy to the father. Mind you that when the older brothers, the older musketeers, we like to call them, when they decide that they need something from the father, they would send an envoy, and he was usually one of us. If you got him to go on your behalf, then you had, sometimes you had some chance with yours truly, but at times, I would flat out just refuse to go on your behalf because you hit me too hard last time when you were beating me up. Anyhow, I wanted to say that, excuse me, the meeting with Sayyid Abdul Had, radiallahu anhu, was that she came to give her hand. She extended her hand to greet him, and this was never something that she had ever done. My mother was very strict with her deen, but they had not informed her, and maybe that's why they took, because even the father, she had not given her hand to him, like extended a hand in greeting to him. But when she saw sitting Abdul Ahad, the son of Sitting Tuba, she extended her hand to greet him, and he put his hand to his chest. I remember that clearly. And the wife who spoke English was the wife who was attached at that meeting, Tanfanjai, and that's where she came, and she showed the appropriate way to greet the Khalifa. And then, excuse me, we already mentioned that she had come back a second time. Now, whether she had left for a third return or not is still in question, but sticking to the fact that when she came back the second time, Malika Mauna Muhammad, that being, she actually had, after some time, exclaimed to being broke. That was the first thing. The second thing was that my younger brother, Isa, or our younger brother, Isa, had been put in the camp of sitting Saliu. Just as we had been put in the camp of Sayyid Abdul Ahad, he had been put in the camp of sitting Saliu. I do recall there was one meeting that she had with the father, or the father had told her in one gathering, and I remember hearing that myself personally, because he had already expressed, he being Isa, wanted to stay with us in Isaias, and what the father told her was that I have taken the children that I have taken, and have Isa go back to US and you take care of him. Let me take care of them and you take care of him. This is what the father had told her. And unfortunately, by this time, that had changed. She had decided to take Isa and put him in the camp of Sitting Saliu, which ultimately put him in the camp of the renowned, belated Sheikh Becho. Chun, Beicho Chun. Yes, that's it. And he was there at one of the farms. He had an accident with a cow. He got kicked either by a cow or a donkey at one of the farms, and then he had to be taken to was it Dantik? Dantik for the surgery. Now, while that was happening, my older brother, Falak Abdul Fattah Muhammad Ismailo, went to Tuba Ombake area, one of those areas, because after, again, in one of the meetings, she expressed that he hadn't gotten very far with the Quran and he was not in French school. Rashid and I, rahimahullah, were in French school, but he hadn't been, so she had changed that as well. She had managed to get him in an Arabic school. My younger sister, well, Arabic French school. My younger sister, but that's far away. That's Mbake is much further than Isaias, kilometer 18. My younger sister was under the care of her father, and it would be that way for a while. We will get to that end of Malika Mona Muhammad, rahmatullahi alayha, if so, Jalla Jalaluhu's will. However, at this point, besides the orpha mentioned, um, there was a point that she began to venture out into, well, I wouldn't say that she had just left PCS and just ventured out. I believe she was at her former in-laws and somehow met up with those who, you know, who undermined tariqah altogether. They did not like any form of tariqah, mystical or spiritual following of anyone. They claim to be they're known, or they were known, or they became to known as the Ibadur Rahman, very popular in Senegal. And they even have a short ibadu. If they see the person is covering, or the person is someone who wears their pants a certain way, koku ibadula. That individual is an ibadu. Now, without further ado, we pronounce husband and wife. So that's to say that it wasn't much longer after the divorce was final with the father of my sister, and she's without. Apparently, she has remarried. We were not, we meaning our children, the father, I doubt he was informed. Well, he didn't speak any English, and one of us would have translated. Falak would not translate. He was too old to translate because he was among the older musketeers like Khadim, Modufal, Jili. Let me see. Oh yes, Karim, another really senior musketeer. And then from there, you have the Grand Musketeer, Tonton Nablai, even Babukar, Jibril Njogufal, so they were the ones who took care of the bees that stung yours truly out with a force and enabled us to actually eat the honey with bread just less than a week later. That was for sure. So that would always be remembered, although they beat us up a lot. And then from there, you still had you have the layer of Hassan, who was a Grand Musketeer, Omar Fall, similarly, and then you had Ibrahim, you had Grand Ahmed, the seniors. So, the layer got all the way up to the likes of Jean Amadou Papin, Asim Rahimahullah, excuse me, Jean Amadou Papin, I was saying, Asim Fall, Lahat, Papfal or Billy, also known as Billy Boona. Boona was there. Then you got Bai. Bai is there also because, that's the namesake of the party. So it was as if, not every single time that we got beat up, by the elders or by some layer of elders was the father, you know, un, unshaken by it. I would say there were at least two occasions that I can attest to where he was shaken by it. I remember having a boil on my neck because that's another issue. Subhanallah. The boil on my neck, and for some reason, I was smacked by Ibrahim. Pow! Now, I don't know in the neck too, and I cannot remember or recall why, but as we were walking into the big courtyard, the father was sitting out under the shade and he watched us come in, and we would, the youngest ones would come and greet him, but everybody else would walk through the door. And when I say everybody else, those who went to school, those who went to LJE, or those who went to the high school in Rufisk, they would all, the females would be Mam Fatim, Maimuna, Khadifa Al, she's, well, let's say our Fal to be sure, Kala, Ndai Fal, Joss is there, so that's already six, maybe someone else. And then from the older ones, Babs Tonto and Nablai would walk right in front of their father and just gone. Okay. And then let's see, and then you talk about, those who are actually within our peers. Um, by then, Khadim and Bipo, Abjob and Jogofade and Wagunya, because remember, Hamza was born right around this time, and Fanjai had him in Wagunya. She did not have him in Isaias. Or at least I can say the Ginte was in Wagunya. And Musa Fal Durugay, the Three Musketeers, Sheikhuna, Musa Fal Durugay, Sheikhuna. We would all walk. Dam Sise was there, and he saw me walking, very unresponsively, and he called me to him, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And then I explained to him that I'm not feeling good. But then Ibrahim smacked. They called Ibrahim for me. He had somebody call Ibrahim, and I just limped on into the room and went to sleep. The other time was when he actually gave us money. He had come out of his mode, because he was in a mode, and you'd have to look at the book Fortresses of a Business Mind to understand AKF. May Allah have mercy on him. He had come out of his mode and ran into us and gave us some money. So as we were sitting around counting the money, one of the layers came to us, including Goss, or including Njogu Fal was also there. I'm going to have to say his name. I believe Mumudu Fal was there. But anyhow, when the father found out through Musa Fal, he dispatched for Lahat, and we were watching along from the side as he dispatched Lahat to go deal with the situation. We just saw Lahat beginning to take the father's anger out on those three individuals, or four. And it was interesting to watch or to see. So I just want to make that clear. Now, there was a time when, he came out of the office, and there were some high walls that were being built on the opposite of the office side, which was through the garden, um, at the end or at the beginning of the other garage, which lays right hand to the compound. And he saw yours truly and a younger. one up there, a younger Muslim, he said, hey, your flame them water to so flower. He came out of his office, and through the trees and everything, he's a tall man. He sees us on top of these unfinished walls. And, you know, we can hear his voice. I mean, when I saw him, you know, but I could see that he sees me, and he says, get down. And Wolof. And we're rushing down. We're rushing to get down, and we go into hiding. Unfortunately for us,